It's impossible to get a bite to eat or go to the grocery store or get my teeth cleaned without a conversation about my take on the current state of affairs. There are dedicated people to my wiki page making, edits in real time. Just because you own a corporation, own a magazine, own a newspaper, own a radio station, news station, doesn't mean you're a trusted source. It means you had enough money to be a source. That Lectern picture of me had never left the building. I didn't break down a door to get this thing. It was sitting out in the open, moved it 20 feet, picture was taken, and I left it there. I cannot actually seek gainful employment. I have to be very creative in the things that I do if I want to make money.
But if your name, image, and likeness can be taken, that's ridiculous.
I look like me, so I don't know how I'm going to change that.
Yeah.
My likeness is my likeness. This is my face. I can't change it.
Welcome back to the He's Wrong, She's Right podcast. I'm Andrew. This is Nona, and today we are joined with Adam, famously known as the Lectern Guy. Adam, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I had a morning free finally. We tried to set this up for a while, so glad to be here.
Yeah, and it looks like you're having some fun. Look, you were in a garage with looked like a Mercedes-Benz and something else there.
Yeah, there is an Audi R8 back here, and then I want to say that's a Ferrari something. Well, that's a Mercedes. That's a different car. Probably an AMG or something. Yeah. Lots of fun.
It's a nice backdrop.
Yeah, it worked out fine this morning.
Yeah. So as my wife said before we started the show, she hasn't really looked into you. I've been following the story for a while. I actually was looking back in my camera roll for something that her and I were talking about completely separate from this from a couple years ago. And I scrolled back to January 2020, and the only meme that I have is Paul Blart on a Segway chasing you.
That's a fun one. Yeah, the mall cop one. That's there's a whole folder. My kids still, my kids send them to me.
Yeah, I bet you still get it. Do people just recognize you walking down the street, or?
It's in my local town where I live. It's impossible to get a bite to eat or go to the grocery store or get my teeth cleaned without a conversation about my take on the current state of affairs.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of that where I live. When I go to places that are denser, caught up with politics, these are the cities, these are the podcast areas. There's a lot more recognition there. But as far as just random towns, not very often.
It's wild. So we talked about before the show started, and I saw a little bit. I looked at your Wikipedia, which is both kind of funny, but also you can tell who wrote it. You can tell it's people that don't really care for you.
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment. We actually had there was a time, probably about a year ago is when it first popped up. We had groups of people going in every couple of minutes trying to add edits to the Wikipedia page. Mm-hmm. And in real time, they were deleting the edits. And we weren't editing anything terrible. It was like this guy makes a nice spaghetti sauce. And even that they wouldn't allow to ride, which is awful.
Oh,
that's great.
I do make a fantastic spaghetti sauce.
We'll have to try some sometime.
Send
next
us
time
the
we're in Florida.
recipe.
I will do.
I went just out of curiosity. I looked at the history actually right before you joined the call. There doesn't seem to be a lot of that going on right now. There's been sparse edits, like correcting tense in something that somebody wrote or updating dates and things like that, but nothing crazy. But I did notice that going back to about June or July even of this year, that there was a lot more back and forth. Specifically, they were deleting or changing content that anonymous people had posted. Whether or not they were doing that maliciously or not, I didn't click through and see what the actual edits were, because it just shows you so-and-so removed content from, and then it's an IP address. So
yes, so we're not sure if it's bots doing this, AI doing this, but we know there are dedicated people to my wiki page making edits in real time. And people that went there actually have like wiki scores. I think it's a thing where it's if you do so many edits and they're verified, you have a permission to come in and make edits because you're a trusted source. Yeah. And even they were getting edited in real time.
Wow.
Yeah, typically they do. I know it's kind of hard. We actually have a nonprofit called Veteran Wiki, which is a wiki for veterans, military members, and their family members. So we've gone through a lot. The whole reason that project started was because some of the bigger name veterans that I know were having difficulty getting their wiki entries either established at all or updated and edited. So we started this project, and it's funny because Wikipedia actually just straight up copies, which So they wouldn't do it when you went in there and updated it on their platform, but they will do it if you have your own platform. They'll just copy you.
Yes, that's how that works. But Wikipedia is it's a dying platform for information. You can still access a lot of information and resources from it, but it's grain of salt with everything.
Yeah.
And I think that is information collection in general these days. There are, won't get too involved into it, but how we source information is completely different now than it was a few years ago. It's a living day-to-day collection of information and data that we can kind of summate into, I think, new ideas. And I think it's better for us in general. We're no longer just looking at something saying, well, that's a name brand, I can trust it. We're now looking at the name brands and saying, maybe I shouldn't trust this anymore. Yeah. And I think we're seeing that a lot with the independent voters. I'm 40 years old, so my generation is kind of wary of mainstream media and what happens with that and what they say. So I'm hopeful that my kids, I got 5, will even take it a step further and vet every source. Just because you own a corporation, own a magazine, own a newspaper, own a radio station, news station, doesn't mean you're a trusted source. It means you had enough money to be a source.
5 kids? Sorry, that's what you got me on that one.
5 boys.
They're all boys?
Yeah, 5 sons, yes.
Oh, what are their ages?
Good Lord. They are 9, 12. One just turned 15 last week. I have a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old going on 18 in January.
3 driving. Oh my gosh. What is your car insurance bill?
It's not as high as my grocery bill, so I'm thankful for that.
That's probably fair even in this house, but we don't have anyone driving yet. Yeah. Soon, next year.
In 6 months.
Yeah.
I see like 37 stalkings back there, so you guys probably have a handful yourself.
4.
Yeah.
But the first one will be driving in 6 months, so I'm already holding my breath for that bill.
So we did see, and we can come back to the new stuff later. We're on the family track now. I did see that we'll just call it the incident. When the incident happened, you were married to your second wife, according to Wikipedia, and she's a doctor. Yes. Is this still your current wife?
It is, yes. We've been married 14 years in May, and we are 15 years together this month, actually.
Wow, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It's a lot of fun. She's a light of my life.
And she's a doctor?
She is, yes.
That's awesome. So
she's a general practitioner.
That's one of the things that really popped out to me on Wikipedia is how they sort of framed your story of your life as being, because they call you stay-at-home dad, which I'm sure, you got projects and stuff, but they definitely make it look like this guy doesn't do anything with his life. That's why he was there. His wife is the breadwinner. And I was like, come on, just sure.
I get that a lot. See, if a woman does it, it's the hardest job in the world. If a guy does it, he's unemployed. That's just how these things work in modern day times. So when I met my wife, I was fully employed. I was going through a custody battle. I won full custody of them, paid for everything out of pocket. We were together. I was selling beer at the time when we met up, and she says, "You're too intelligent to do that. Go to college." So I went to college. We had a couple of kids together. She adopted my kids. We had 5 at this point, and the kids were basically being raised by pre-K, daycare babysitters, and we looked at each other and said, we can afford to not have them raised this way. So I put my college on hold, and I raised the kids for 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
So we made a conscious decision to take care of our family first, because we made enough to not have to worry about, are the kids going to get their needs met? So we chose our family.
I love that.
So our kids all go to, they're in public school, but they're in charter and early college schools. So they're still within the public sphere where they can go and, hang out with their friends and meet people and things like that. But they're not just in like more or less general pop, where the education isn't as great. But she has said for years, she's like, if things change, if this straw were to drop or whatever, I'm going to pull them out and homeschool them. And I mean, she's been this close a couple different times, like vaccination.
Haven't we all?
Yeah. And I'm like, I had a completely different experience. I grew up at a pretty rich public school. The private schools around where I went were the poor schools. The public schools were the more well-off schools. So I carry that experience and all of that with me here. And I look at these schools and I'm like, wow, she says, we had a very different upbringing. Everything is very different. So how does your wife feel about the projects that you do work on, the cabinetry and furniture making?
Well, there was a couple of years. So when I put college on hold, I opened a carpentry business, and I was remember when farmhouse tables were all the rage?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And all this stuff. So I'm a pretty decent carpenter. I was building probably 3 or 4 tables a month. And, I was making some decent money doing it. I definitely paid taxes on all of it and didn't require cash up front, whoever's listening. And that actually sustained us pretty well. It was a job. I could set my hours, take my work, as I could, still vacation whenever I wanted to, because her PTO is limited. But if I don't want to work this week, I don't have to. So she was very, very positive about that. Right now, what I do, I don't know if you know, but I actually build little lecterns. Have you seen these?
I have seen some of the stuff that you've posted, funny. But I haven't seen a lot of it.
So I actually started a 501c3. And the website should go live this week or next week. And I've been building little lecterns for charity.
Awesome.
I give, again, so I think God has a reason for everything. And I think there is a path that we set up for ourselves. We always kind of find our way back to the one he set for us. The carpentry thing, I didn't learn it because I wanted to be a carpenter. I learned it because, I wanted to build crown molding. And I messed it up horribly. But I took that skill. These things happen to me, and I'm like, well, I can build lecterns. They're actually pretty easy to build. So I built one. We set it up for charity. It raised like $1,000. I built another one, another $1,000. And every time I built one, we were raising all this money, and we gave every single penny. We bought all the wood supplies ourselves. We gave every penny to families who had parents who were in prison, and the kids didn't have income coming in. Who's going to pay their bills? Who's get lights on? So we started with that. And a lot of people supported it, so I started a 501c3. Charity go live this week or next week. Sorry.
What is it called?
It's called Help Take a Stand.
Oh, I love that.
Man, you're missing tomorrow. Well, for while we're recording this, today's Monday, Cyber Monday. But tomorrow's Giving Tuesday, which is we can post it on our social media. We have a very small social media following, so no promises there, but we'll definitely post it. Helps. Yeah, we crossed 2,000 subscribers this weekend on YouTube, and then we have varying amounts on every other platform. So yeah, we'll post it, and once you have that link and everything ready, we'll make sure we put that in the description of the videos and comments and things like that as well. So that you started explaining the mission of it. So this is going to be strictly like miniature lecterns, or?
Well, we have so I built a couple of full size ones, and those are a little more labor intensive, and shipping is a thing. But we have hats, T-shirts, stickers. I'm a Lego now. I don't know if you saw, but there was a guy who won Lego Masters Season 1, found all the parts to actually build me into a Lego. So we're going to sell those as well as keychains, Christmas ornaments. But everything outside of what it costs to develop these things and ship them will go 100% charity. We do find God has blessed us. I'm not interested in making a buck off of this. I really just want to make sure that the kids, and it's apolitical. There are a lot of parents who are in prison who shouldn't be in prison, and we've done this for a very long time. And I think there is this idea that the right and the left are against each other, but everyone should be for the kids. They didn't have a say in this. They didn't choose what their parents are and what they did and who they are. So if we're going to be people who support Americans as a country, our culture should be, our kids should be first, and those kids should be taken care of. So that's kind of the mission of the whole charity. I don't care what side of the fence you land on. These kids got to eat. These kids got to know that they're loved in their communities. And that's kind of the goal.
She's on board with you 100%.
Absolutely. Is that the hat you're wearing? Is that some of your merch?
Yeah, that's one of them. We have a bunch of mock-ups. There's a hoodie as well.
Okay.
Where is it?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I actually know somebody that might be interested. I can reach out to Jason potentially.
Go for it.
Yeah. They run it's a veteran nonprofit specifically for veteran businesses and veteran family members, but they do bring in artists and things that people aren't necessarily veterans. Are you a veteran? I never even asked that.
I am not. I tried to join when I was younger. They wouldn't take me.
That
I'm sure there's a story there, but we won't go.
well, there's a million different reasons there. Before pre 9/11, if you had any number of anything, if you had any sort of pre-existing injury, if you had flat feet, if you had, bad teeth, it didn't matter what they would find every excuse to keep people out. And now they're like,
Selective.
yeah, we need people. They're begging for people. They'll waive anything now.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I think that's going to change in the coming months. I do.
possibly. We'll see. I think people might want to voluntarily join again, just because of the climate and the kind of the feeling that we don't want to be involved with other people's stuff. And this is obviously, not the conversation to be had here today, but I think you're right. I think that'll change next, even early or late January.
I believe it. I believe it. I think most people want to be proud of where they live. I think most people want to be proud of, and it's like I turned 40 in 2 weeks, and a lot of people ask me, why are you so dedicated to these things? Why are you so passionate about it? And my thought's always been, I want to be the first generation that hands off, whatever my kids get in a better shape than what I got it.
Right.
And, wherever you land on the political spectrum, I don't care. That's up to you. But your passion, your drive should be, my kids should have more than I had and more opportunity than I had.
Happy early birthday.
Sorry?
Happy early birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I turned 40. My wife is, she's sending me on a trip next week to San Antonio. And then I got a couple of trips in January. I didn't want a big party. I wanted to go do experiences.
What are you going to do in San Antonio?
There is a range day with the donut operator out at Demolition Ranch. AK Guy's going to be there. A bunch of gun tubers. I'm a big 2A enthusiast. So I get to go out there for range day with them. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Heck yeah. I
Those
don't
are
know
all of his favorite people.
Yeah, I don't know any of those guys. I do know Eli personally. Eli Double Tap.
Fantastic.
Eli yeah. And I know some of the Black Rifle guys. I used to work for Drinking Bros podcast.
Fantastic. Yeah, they were actually out at the last range day. I want to say it was in March or April, but they were doing a live podcast at the range day.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
I haven't watched any of their content in so long. Ross, as you know, Ross is an Ohio State fan and I'm a Michigan fan. So for the last couple of years,
they're quite literally blocked against each other. There's no communication.
House divided. Exactly.
For a football rivalry.
Yeah. So that's awesome. That'll be fun. Is it another like big creator event, or is this something specific?
It's a creator event.
Okay.
Nice.
But I'm in Texas so often I can just like, hey, I'm in Texas. What's going on, guys? And if there's something, I'll just pop by.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, going back here real quick, there was a couple of things that we kind of glanced over. What did your wife think about the outcome from January?
Well, initially she was definitely not amused because I left under the context. Don't worry, things are going to be fine. I'll stay out of trouble. It's going to be good. That's not how things turned out. And I'll be honest, I was actually, both of us were very surprised how things turned out.
I bet.
We've seen several protests occur in DC. I mean, we've had 3 this year. There was 4 last year. It's a regular thing. DC is a town that protests thrive in. And when I left that day, I didn't think anything happened because I wasn't a part of anything. I walked in, walked out. There's a picture, and that's literally about it. When things came to a head and they were talking about a 20-year prison sentence, I drove home the very next day, skipped my flight, just drove straight home overnight. We sat down, and my family actually had to flee because there were multiple death threats on us. We got doxxed online. There were people saying they're going to come by and take care of my family while I wasn't there. It was actually not a great couple of days.
Jeez.
That's terrible. I'm so sorry.
We have a lot of Leo friends. We have I train MMA jiu-jitsu, so we had a couple dozen people come over and just take care of my family. It was okay.
Man, that's wild.
I don't understand these people. You'd be mad at me all you want, but my family had nothing to do with it. There were threats against her office, her job, her coworkers. It was not a great turning. For her and I personally, individually, I came home and I said, look, they're talking about 20 years. If I end up going to prison for 20 years, I don't expect you to wait. Like, that's your whole life.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put that on you. I made a decision, and that's on me. And I will suffer in silence. You should take care of these kids, and whatever it looks like, have at it. She told me I was being, it's being very stupid. I'll say that. And she made a commitment that we married. When she said I do, she meant it. So she said, whatever turns out, whatever happens, we have each other, and that's all we have. So we sat up, we brought the kids down, we had a conversation. Dad might be in some trouble. Not sure if he's going to be back anytime soon, but he loves you, and we'll make the best of it.
I don't know how that conversation would go around here. I don't think she would be as happy or as nice to me as your wife was to you.
I appreciate the conversation that you had with her, though. I appreciate that you accepted the potential of responsibility and gave her that out, essentially. So I do appreciate that. I don't know that you would, is what I'm getting at.
I mean, probably, maybe. Who knows?
How long was the actual time that you served?
So we had to hire, there's backstory to this. We had to hire attorneys. It was $100,000 out of pocket. The AUSA, which is the Assistant United States Attorney's Office, Department of Justice, would not let us raise a dime publicly for the attorney fees. So we had to pay the $100,000 out of pocket. They're great attorneys. I recommend them to anyone who ever is caught up in anything. Dan Eckhart and David Bigney. Not paid to say that, they're just really, really good guys. We talked with the feds for a couple of months, the AUSA. They ended up dropping the felony because I never stole anything. That Lectern picture of me had never left the building. I didn't break down a door to get this thing. It was sitting out in the open. Moved it 20 feet, picture was taken, and I left it there. And they knew this before they even arrested me and charged me. They had it the same day. The video of me carrying it, I didn't even see that until I finished my probation and prison sentence.
Wow.
They withheld. It's actually a very, there's a lot of things that have happened with people that have gone through what I've gone through after January 6th that is not right. It's unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Setting an example, essentially.
Yes. I ended up getting a 75-day sentence in federal prison. I got a $5,000 fine, 200 hours of community service, and a year of supervised release. And I could not leave the Middle District of Florida for almost 2.5 years. Oh. I had to ask permission to go see my family in South Florida. Wow. And my father in Pensacola, who is dead now. He was actually very, very sick, and they ran smear campaigns because I begged the judge to go see my family as he's dying.
That's so sad.
That's crazy.
And to be living the last now 3 years like that, how does that make you feel? We're recording Monday after Thanksgiving. What just occurred a few hours ago with the pardoning?
I mean, he was always going to be pardoned. I think we can look at the charges they brought against him are not the charges that actually matter. If you look into anything that was on that laptop, and it's public knowledge, you can assess these things. They didn't really bring charges against him. They could have. These were slap on the wrist charges. They were always going to pardon. But the charges they brought, as you do depositions and you do discovery, you can't look past that and bring things up that are actually on the laptop that are actually of importance. If I talk about how do I feel with him being pardoned, I'm indifferent on the matter. Really? Again, I'm a 2A enthusiast. I think we should be very leery about stripping gun rights from anyone.
We had a conversation a couple episodes back, just the two of us, regarding, where that line would be drawn if we had to be the arbiters of that. For example, if you were to open somebody's mail by accident, technically that's a felony. Should you lose your Second Amendment rights because of that? I don't think so. Maybe if you did it intentionally and you're trying to steal a check or something, that's a different story. But if somebody's magazine or something comes to the house and you open it up and you're like, oh, this isn't mine.
I think if it's directly related to gun violence or gun infringements, right? Firearm infringements, these are the laws, we have these in place. Maybe then we can talk about a probationary period, right? I mean, does the crime involve any victims? Right? And I can provide an example for this. My cellmate in federal prison, if I can fetch for a second. He got arrested for the for the production and distribution of steroids. His initial charge made him a felon.
Is this PJ Braun by any chance?
This is not. It's not PJ Brown. No. So he serves a year and a half as a sentence and gets out. Now he's a felon, and his probationary officer tells him, "You're a felon. You have to either sell your firearms or turn them in." So he goes to sell them. He sells them to his friend, who, unbeknownst to him, is a felon. Now, what makes this worse? That person was a confidential informant for the FBI.
Oh my God! So it was a setup.
It was a setup. That man got a 7-year prison sentence. So if I'm upset about the Hunter Biden story, it's for my friend. Now, this man was one of the most altruistic people I have ever met in my life. He would put together packages for people who were coming in who had nothing. So the day you come in, you don't have commissary for a couple of weeks. They don't give you things like toothbrushes, toothpaste, things that normal humans should have. It's complete violations of the 8th Amendment. We can get into that. But this man spent...
You're not issued that as soon as you get there?
Oh, no. They tell you they do these things. And if you try to complain while you're in prison, they have a couple of ways to make sure you don't get to complain or it never reaches mainstream. One of them is called diesel therapy. You're allowed to file complaints while you're in prison if your rights are being impeded on. So this is corporal punishment. This is your basic necessities, hygiene are being met. You can file a complaint with the warden. That complaint does get filed. They will put you on a bus and they will drive you around for 6 months. You will stop at different prisons along the way. When you go to a new prison, they will put you in isolation for 2 weeks while you're being processed. This is solitary confinement. And then they will pick you up just before 2 weeks and they will take you to the next place. So you will spend up to 6 months to a year in solitary confinement because you made a complaint. It is called diesel therapy. This is the federal prison. This is how things work.
That's wild.
And the look on your face, I saw the same thing, and it's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, because if we can't help these people who are in prison, we can at least help their families. And these men that come out, it's supposed to be the prison sentence. You're supposed to be rehabilitated.
Right.
When you come out, you're supposed to be better. These people are holding records for their entire lives. They cannot get gainful employment. What are they supposed to do? A lot of them lose their families along the way, and they are also fined while they're in there because they're supposed to pay for their own prison accommodations. So a lot of these people come out with debt instead of money.
Right.
And these people are working. So the place I was at was a prison camp, and you can work 40 to 50 hours a week and make an income. The income is about 16 to 17 cents an hour, which is a violation, again, of just regular wage laws that apply for everyone but prisoners. Now, there is a better way if these prisoners are in. I'm not saying we should just treat them like they're great human beings. You're in prison. There's probably a reason 9 out of 10 times.
Right.
But these people who are working 50 hours a week, if they were given minimum wage, if they could then have a setup when they get out of prison to have a down payment for a car, an apartment, they could actually re-enter their lives with a better opportunity to not recommit. But we're not really interested in making sure people don't recommit. We're interested in making sure that recidivism stays high because there is monopoly in keeping people in prison and jail.
Right.
It's wild.
So, I mean, on that note, since there's a lot more there than obviously a Wikipedia entry, I did see on Wikipedia that part of the deal as well was that for the first 5 years after the sentencing, that any proceeds from a book deal that you might get would the federal government would collect part of the profit. It didn't say how much. Was there a dollar amount or a percent?
Every penny.
Every penny.
Yes, and it's not just book deals. It is podcasts. They actually included if I write a song.
Wow.
It's everything. It is everything.
That's wild.
And it's not the way it's written. We've had a couple attorneys look at it. It is direct and indirect profit off of my name, likeness, image, my face, my literal face.
So
if I'm recognized, so let's say I get a job, right? And I tried this. I actually can't get I applied to Walmart and McDonald's while I was on probation because part of the things I had to do on probation was be gainfully employed.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I'll go apply to these places. They wouldn't hire me because they knew who I was. My record pops up, can't get a job. Right? So let's say I did get a job. The government could argue he only got that job because they know who he is. Let's say I get a promotion. Well, they only got a promotion because they know who he is. It is written in such a way I cannot actually seek gainful employment I have to be very creative in the things that I do if I want to make money.
That's wild. So that actually leads me into a couple other questions that you kind of partially answered it. But if I watch like John Malecki, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but I'm sure he played in the NFL, now builds furniture and stuff on YouTube.
Yeah. I know this guy.
So that was the first thing that jumped out at me. You know, you're building the lecterns, you're a furniture builder by hobby/trade. That would be the thing that I would want to go into potentially, you know, being some sort of content creator, making money on both ends of building furniture. But if your name, image, and likeness can be taken, that's ridiculous.
I look like me, so I don't know how I'm going to change that.
Yeah.
You know, it's my likeness is my likeness. This is my face. I can't change it.
So after that period, or I guess, and maybe the attorneys have talked to you about this, if you started, for example, a draft right now, but you didn't publish it until after that 5-year period was over, do they still have a claim to that because you worked on it during that time?
No, there actually is a book. I'm about 230 pages into it now.
Awesome.
A little over 400,000 words. It's very funny. It's all tongue in cheek. It's meant to make everyone laugh who reads it. I'm allowed to publish that at the end of 5 years.
Okay.
Now, they wanted a lifetime ban. The original plea deal said a lifetime ban. You can never, ever make money using the likeness, basically my face.
Right.
And my attorneys got it pled down to 5 years.
That's still crazy. No, I mean, in this climate, almost everything, there's very, very few content creators these days that will keep their actual face hidden. I mean, there's been a couple that have, and then as soon as they show their face and the jig is up, they're no longer popular. So you're kind of put in a position where, as you said, you can't get gainful employment, but you also can't go a creative route, because as soon as you do that, then you're using your face. Your hands are tied. That's crazy.
Very much so. And it's okay. Again, I mean, God's been very good to us. We've done pretty well, just, regular life stuff. But if things do end up in January turning where I do get a pardon, that plea deal goes away. I can release a book. I can do things like sell a hat and take $1 off of it. And we've talked about it. I would like to be made whole. Again, we were $100,000 out of pocket for attorneys. Could not raise a dime for that. It would be nice if at some point I could create something, reveal a product, and then maybe I'm made even. Maybe I'm made whole at the end of it.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah,
I was just going to say, so if the pardon does come through for you and everybody else, which I'm going to stand here and say that it should, to the best of my knowledge, there was no violence, there was nothing destroyed. It was just the whole thing, I guess, more or less got out of hand. We'll say that for some people, not for others, but in a lot of cases, some things maybe shouldn't have happened. But overall, they wanted to show that they can make your life terrible. If anybody, they wanted to set the example that if anybody else wanted to do that at any other point in time, they had the ability and the resources to make sure that nobody else would do it again.
Yes, I think it comes down, and I think the juxtapositions of that is if we look at what happened for the riots for, 14 months ahead of time. If we look at where they rioted, it wasn't really, sorry, they're racing cars again. If we look at what happened to them, it wasn't much. And it's not that what they did wasn't similar or in the same vein. It was where they rioted, what buildings they chose to enter. And I think if we can look at this in a bipartisan way, why should the life of someone who works at Walgreens have less value than someone who works in the Capitol?
That's fair.
If we want to look at it and say these people's lives were in danger, that's why you're prosecuted. Well, plenty of family businesses were burned to the ground. Plenty of stores were burned to the ground, and employees' lives were put in danger on a regular basis. Where are the mass incarcerations? Where is the FBI going after every last person who set fire to a building or walked into a building after someone already opened a door? Where is it?
Yep.
And the only answer I can come up with is that the people who work in DC believe their lives are worth more. And I think that has to change. These people are supposed to be public servants. They're supposed to be emissaries for their constituents who send them there to make sure that the people who send them there's lives are being taken care of.
The thing that, to your point, is the people that are running around looting for whether they believe it's just or not, or they're just doing it because their friends are doing it. That's obviously a whole different topic, but for the people that are doing it just for personal gain, they're so brazen now. They don't wear a mask. They show their face. They're recording each other. They're laughing about it. They're posting it on their own. So like you guys were on security cameras. Maybe a couple of people were out with their phones or whatever, but you guys weren't destroying property. Whereas, as you said, people burning down businesses and people stealing people's hard work and things like that, and nothing ever comes of it. And they show their face. You cannot make it any easier.
This is a product of the district attorneys in these places where we see it happen on the frequent, saying we're not going to prosecute for crimes up to $999.
Interesting.
This is California. This is Illinois. This is Wisconsin, Michigan, New York. The DAs that have been put into place there just don't prosecute. So when we look at crime statistics, they do this thing where like crime is down. It's because they don't prosecute certain crimes anymore.
Right.
So they can give you this illusion of, no, things are better now. But then you go outside, you look around, you read the news, and you question, you have this dissonance. Well, that's not what I see in real life. And it's because we just don't prosecute anymore.
Right.
And what happens when we don't prosecute for crime? Well, crime goes up.
Yep.
There are more instances. The brazenness of walking around robbing a store with no mask on, that is what we see.
Yep.
They know that nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah, I can't imagine in this day and age willingly or willfully committing any sort of crime, because you can't walk down the street in my neighborhood
without 10 people's Ring cameras and Google Nest cameras.
If somebody's dog poops on somebody's yard, 8 people have the camera footage of that.
And post it on the HOA neighborhood page. Come clean up your dog shit.
I'm actually fine with that part. I'm fine with that type of security state.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying, it's how can anybody sit in their home or whatever with their friends and plan out this crime that they may, let's go. I know this rich person, they've got all kinds of stuff in their house. You've got cameras inside a lot of people's houses these days. You've got cameras outside everywhere. You've got your vehicles being tracked by your insurance company and the manufacturer. Your phone is probably on you with your GPS on. They're going to know that you're there. It's very easy to find you. You would think that if people understood that at all, that crime would go down, but it hasn't.
They know they can get away with it.
Yeah,
they do. And I think, what is that song, Country Singer? Try that in a small town. This type of rhetoric we're seeing in our culture has also popped up quite a bit. You probably wouldn't have heard a song like that a few years ago. You wouldn't have, or a decade ago. That's not really what we were talking about. And I think the advent of everything is politics now. You can't get away from it. We used to have movies, music, sports. We'd watch these things. They're apolitical. It's a way to check out specialist belief and then just kind of live your life because you've earned your Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
We don't really have that anymore. We don't. And I think it happened after COVID or through COVID. Everything kind of turned off. Everyone was hyper focused into, wait, I don't have the ability to do what I used to do. You just can't take that away.
Yep.
And a lot of people learned in a very, very fast and uncomfortable way that, yes, they do. And it's because you've been quiet a very long time. You've sat by, you decided to, spend your time, scrolling through Twitter or Facebook or Instagram instead of, reading about the local judge who's being elected in 2 months.
Yep.
And I think people need to wake up and realize that you actually can make a difference locally. And all of politics is driven from the bottom up. We can make massive changes. Know who your judges are. Know who's sitting on every board in your county. Show up and vote.
What were you trying to say?
Oh, I was agreeing with you that I think COVID was a huge wake up period for everybody, a huge awakening within oneself. There was a lot of introspection, a lot of self-actualization, and a lot of growth within the community as a whole. And then there was a lot of people who just kept saying the same thing over and over again. And then you started to realize,
there's a lot of self-preservation in there as well. The people that have the money to pay for an attorney to defend themselves or to go toe to toe with the government for any sort of right or anything like that, if it hasn't already been stripped from them, typically aren't going to pursue it the other way because they don't want to invest the money in it and they don't want to lose anything else that they might have. So the only thing, like you said, that you have is to go out and vote and try and put people in the seats that you think align with your beliefs. But the people who wind up in trouble and then end up in hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal debt and things like that, not everybody even has the ability to do that without, especially you said you couldn't crowdfund or crowdsource your funding in any way. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But, God is good. There was money that came in that we just didn't expect to come in over and over again. And we can't explain it. We're not sure why it happened other than I think that God is good and he took care of us.
That's great. I mean, so with your wife being a general practitioner and the things that you were doing on the side and stuff like that, do you think you could have afforded to go the route that you did?
No, absolutely not. I got to move this. The wind's coming in pretty hard now. It's shaking the camera. Let's bump back 2 feet for you. We're in Florida. We got our first cold front coming through, which is down to 30, 40 degrees.
How long is that ponytail behind you? Oh my goodness.
Where is it? I can't do this.
Other way.
I'm so bad at this. Nope.
You're like me. I don't know angles either.
Wait. There we go. It is, I'm so bad at this. I can't do it in reverse.
There you go. Right there. Show it off.
It's probably, I don't know, 12, 13 inches long. There we go. I'm actually, I'm growing it out for Locks of Love.
I love that.
We're going to donate it here in a couple of months.
That's
Almost
awesome.
there.
How long does that have to be?
I think 8 inches is the minimum
Okay.
they accept. But I'm there, so I don't want to have super short hair. I actually like my long hair, and my wife would be very upset if I cut it all off. So
that's how she feels about my beard. She said that she's seen pictures of me from like when I was in the Army, which
she's not allowed to shave.
I also weighed significantly less than I do now, but she's seen pictures of me. She's like, no.
I would have kept on walking.
When I first started growing it out, was a couple years ago, I noticed a couple of gray hairs. And I said, you know what? I have to grow it out now because if I grow it out when I'm 40 years old, it's going to look like a midlife crisis. So I'll just always be the guy with long hair. My wife told me I was homeless because there's that stage where it's just a mess.
Yeah.
And now she tells me I can never cut it off. So I'm stuck blow drying my hair and finding products for it.
Oh, gosh.
With her and 2 young girls in the house, they go through shampoo and conditioner pretty fast. Pretty fast.
Something that you have no knowledge of.
No, I use just a little, the amount that they say on the bottle, which is basically, 1 squirt, or you turn it over and get like a little, but yeah, the kinds of products that she used, like the actual mechanical products, like hair dryers and things like that. She's like, oh yeah, I bought the new Dyson one and I got this and I got that. And then I see the prices. I'm like, geez, I'm so glad that I don't have long hair.
It's a lot. So I found I don't really see much difference between shampoo and conditioner brands. I try to switch it up every couple of months because I believe there's a pH formula in your hair. You got to switch it up. But everything is in the heat protectant. If you want to really make sure it's not, frizzy, and a lot of humidity down here. So I use that Paul Mitchell's heat serum. It's fantastic.
I freaking love this.
I don't know
He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Welcome to my life, Andrew.
Yeah.
It's a lot to manage. I have a hard time brushing it now because it's so long. Do you have this too, where it's like I can't reach the back of it and I'm trying to...
Yeah, my hair touches my butt.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know anything about any of this. The most I have to do is get in the shower and scrub my pits. And
I wanted to do it once. My grandma got breast cancer when I was younger, and she survived it. But I watched her just, go through chemo, and I was like, man, like that's... Oh, I would hate to lose my hair.
Yeah.
So it's been like that bucket list of things I wanted to do for a long time. So
nice.
It's awesome. Well, it's nice that you're also doing it for charitable cause. That is specifically for kids with cancer, correct?
I don't think it's just kids with cancer.
I think it's cancer in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody with cancer.
Okay.
Needing a wig.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of it. I know a little bit about it, but it's not, I don't follow up with every charity organization because I can't donate to every charity organization.
I will say I am upset because they do dye the hair that comes in, and I'm a ginger. I don't know if you can tell or not.
Yes,
and
we can tell.
They just erase us at every chance they can.
How does it stay well? Like it, because it's no longer alive.
Look into charities just within Florida. I bet there's another one that's local to you that won't dye it. That's not necessarily Locks of Love.
I mean, the hair that I have now actually have historical significance. It's part of history. So whoever gets it,
That's fair.
Should be cherished.
Or just do it through your 501c.
I could set an auction for my hair. That's not weird at all. Yeah.
It would probably be the hottest ticket.
If you make it go towards somebody that has cancer that needs a wig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be a thing.
Yeah.
That could be a thing. That's a great idea. I will talk to my people and see if we can't set that up.
I did Locks of Love. My brother did, and my sister did. We all did it in middle school. We all grew our hair out, including my brother, and chopped it off. I highly suggest trying to find a local. That's all I will say.
Okay. Done. I will look into that.
Okay.
I actually see my hairstylist tomorrow, so I'll ask her.
Ask her.
Once again, I don't know anything about any of this. The only thing that I know in that conversation is that I also go to a hairstylist. Whether or not I should, I don't know, but I know him, and he cuts my hair well. She likes the way he cuts my hair. It's a little bit more expensive than going to a regular barber shop, but I get the haircut that I want every single time.
I've been cutting my kids' hair, since they were 3 or 4. So my mom would take them to Fantastic Sam's occasionally, just pick them up and like, oh, I got your kids' haircuts. I'm like, why would you do that? It's so horrible. Why would you do that? Because they'd come home and like, Dad, Grandma cut our hair. And I'm like, I know, get the clippers out.
Aww.
And I had to fix them one after the other.
Oh.
She has cut the boys' hair on and off for the last several years.
And I exclusively cut the girls' hair and my own hair.
Yeah. But the boys now, after having gone to a couple different salons and barbershops, now it's like a spoiled event. They get their hair, shampooed and head massage.
But what they like specifically that I can't offer them is that magical barber cape. That's all it is. They just don't want the hair on their body.
On their neck specifically.
Yeah, right. Because then they get itchy. And even if they're getting straight into the shower, it's just, I understand. Sure. Go have the special event with Andrew. Go for it. It's all good.
Yeah, we got the whole thing here: the cape, the warm towels. There's a whole process.
Nice.
Yeah, they get their
very bougie.
They get their hair shampooed and the head massage, and then they get it cut, and then they go back and get it rinsed out and massaged again.
Oh, I don't do that. They have the hair cape. That's on them. They're older kids. They can bathe themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have any more questions for him?
I want to see if people responded on Facebook. I put up a last minute thing, seeing if anybody wanted to ask you anything. Aaron Shue asks, what did he do for a living? Has he ever taken an IQ test, and what were the results?
Oh, geez.
That's very specific, but okay.
I tested for gifted. I was supposed to be in it, but my parents opted me out. I think the threshold's like 130, I want to say it is. So it's probably around there.
Yeah, I don't know. I
don't know.
I took
my bachelor's is in psychology, so the IQ test, or it's leaned in a certain direction for some people to do a great job, and some people have a more difficult time.
That was actually a question that I did when I asked you, and I completely spaced about it, is what you were going to school for.
Bachelor's in psychology. I actually just finished it up in January. I started semester and finished in May.
Congratulations.
Do you plan to pursue it further?
So part of the probation was I had to get a job, gainful employment, because no one would hire me. The other option was to go back to school.
Okay.
I applied to USF where I had 1 semester left. I have a 3.95 GPA, actually pretty decent at school.
Yeah.
and they wouldn't take me back in because I was on probation. I had to fight with them for a year before they finally accepted me. And even then, I had to do meetings with the ethics committee on a regular basis to make sure I was not a threat to those around me. I chose not to walk for graduation because they implied that it would be a security issue.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry.
I got the piece of paper. It's probably nothing with it, but I finished something, and they told me I couldn't. So I was like, well, guess I'm going to have to now.
Yeah.
That's wild.
In Florida, of all places, too. I would have thought.
Florida's a great state. DeSantis is a great job, but there's at the collegiate level, there's still a lot to be done, a lot to be desired.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't know. I've never lived there, so we do have a lot of friends that talk very highly. Baker Levitt from Black Rifle talked a lot about him. I'm friends with John Cardillo, if you know who he is. He used to be on Fox News and Newsmax. And
yeah. I know this guy. Nice guy.
Yeah, he talks really highly of him. There's a lot of people I haven't really ever heard anything bad about him, but of course, when you're in politics, they tend to go out of their way to make sure everybody knows every detail about you. And I mean, just like your Wikipedia entry talks about marijuana charges from like 2002 or whatever.
So I was 18 at this point, and like most 18-year-olds, you try things here and there. I was in a bathroom at my public pool in my community, and two cops come in, and I don't have any marijuana on me. There's like a little bit of like paper left on the ground. So it tested positive. There's nothing in there. Tested positive, and I went to jail for that, and I got a charge for that.
It's crazy.
For a piece of paper on the ground.
And nobody would have ever known if all of the other things would have never transpired.
Nope. And part of my probation and release and all of this is they drug tested me like at random.
Yeah.
I was like, well, it's not a drug charge, and I have 5 kids. I don't do drugs. Not sure why this is necessary, but every couple of months they'd come in and be like, all right, take your pants down. You got to pee in front of us again. Which is, the humiliation is part of the process.
Yep. Definitely sounds like it. Dylan Doenbaugh has a couple of questions, but the first one I won't ask because it won't work on this platform. It would have to be like a private or like a paid platform or something like that. The second question is an Alex Jones type question. Is the government really turning the frogs gay?
Okay. So that study, what did they tested the water samples, and they were making androgynous frogs. So basically the water was making them where the mutations could either be male or female, but it was switching them because of the water content. The study is out there, and yes, it is real. Grain of salt with everything. It's more about the context of it. Now, if we're talking about, are we doing things that are encouraging kids to go one way or the other with their sex? I think absolutely. Watch movies, listen to music, listen to the people that these kids are being put in front of. Look at the things that YouTube will tolerate and not tolerate.
Yep. I actually didn't know that there was a real study. I mean, I knew Alex Jones had brought it up, but I thought it was just a meme. I had no idea that this was a real thing.
Yep, it was actually causing androgyny within the frog population in a couple places. Yes,
that's crazy. So his other question as well, not really a good question for the YouTube and Spotify.
I like this guy.
Yeah.
You can ask me he can find me on Twitter and ask me in my DMs. I'll answer him.
I'll tell him that. I'll make sure that he knows that. But that's hilarious. Well, I've kind of asked a lot of everything, but we haven't really given you an opportunity to talk about anything that you might have wanted to talk about. Is there anything that you wanted to bring up?
Oh Lord. Let's see. What's popular these days? I'm hopeful. I'm positive. I think that things are trending in a good direction. With everything that happened during this last election season, I think it's important for us to stay vigilant. There's a lot of complacency on the conservative side, where once we win, we go back to sleep. And if we look at what the other side is, they don't sleep. They don't. If you read scripture, it says, the devil does not sleep. He operates during the night. He comes like a thief. He is vigilant. He stays on. And not to compare these people to evil, but they do they do participate in a lot of evil things. So I think it's important for all of us to stay vigilant and remember that we didn't win. All we did is get a place at the table to make some changes.
Yep.
Winning requires you to show up at work, at your dinner table with your kids, at your PTA meetings, and be vocal that we want things different, we want things changed. We care about the kids, we care about our future, and we're invested in it.
She likes that. Anything that has to do with making positive change for kids is always going to make her a happy person.
You brought up public school. Your kids are in public school. So are mine, all 5. And I get a lot of flack for this. And I have a thing that I tell everyone. We have this idea that if we shut down institutions, right? There's been a call to shut down the FBI, ATF, all these departments. They can just be voted to be reinstated if Congress ever has a majority Democrat. So shutting these things down will never change anything. Shutting down the Department of Education won't change anything. Right. It won't. They can just vote them back in place.
Right.
So how then do you change things? And it's not election. It is a generational fight that we're in. My kids go to public school because those kids might never hear truth. Those kids might never understand what a good household looks like, what it means to be loved, to be cared about. And my kids are emissaries of that. My kids are missionaries. They go to these places and they don't lie. They tell the truth. And I'm thankful they're there because I can't go there and do those things because they won't let me.
Right.
And I know there are teachers, administrators, principals, guidance counselors that will straight out lie to these children and tell them the things that are deleterious to their lives and their future are good for them. My kids are stopgaps for that. They stand in the way and say, no, there is a better way to live.
I had a conversation with our youngest a couple months ago, and it was more lighthearted. It wasn't anything political or religious or anything along those lines, but he asked me a question about something about space. And my response to him was different from what he learned in school. And so I talked to him for a little bit, and we talked about a couple different things that I said, they probably taught you this. They probably taught you this. The things that you learn in school generally are like approximations or close enough. It's the snippet that the children in your age group can understand rather than it being fully factual or perfect facts. And it's supposed to be the starting point for you to go out and research and learn these things on your own. And he sat there and he was like, oh, that's why the things that you say the teachers say are wrong. And I was like, sure.
Well, school is supposed to be they're supposed to be in the business of teaching children how to learn.
Right.
Source out information, details, and come up with a summary of this is how it actually is using critical thinking skills. Mm-hmm. We have gotten very far from that. Now the answer is the answer, and if you don't say the answer, you are a racist or a bigot.
Yep.
And I think we're removing the ability for our kids to learn to critically think. And we're telling them our kids are a lot more intelligent than we give them credit for. The conversations that we have with them are the conversations we've trained them to have with us.
Yep.
So if your kids will get in trouble if they say A, B, and C or ask questions in a DEF type of way, then they will never present those questions to you.
Right.
And kids, as they're learning and as they're growing, they're going to have to talk and ask questions a different way because they're being exposed to larger concepts, different ideas. I am completely open with my kids. They can ask me anything, and I will give them a very direct and honest answer. And because we have chosen to live this way and have this relationship, my kids know when they're being lied to. So yeah. I think it's important not to insulate your children from the world. I think it's important to show them the world operates like this, because at the end of the day, the kids turn 18 and all the things that you hid them from, all the things that you didn't have conversations about, they have to go into workplaces, into colleges, into life, and deal with all of those things with no foundational skills to deal with them or address them.
Right. Have you had any issues with your kids being labeled as like argumentative or problematic or anything like that?
Absolutely. And, again, part of the benefit of being able to be a stay-at-home dad is I get to answer those phone calls. I get to go to those meetings. And I'm not so obstinate to where I won't listen to the teacher or where they're coming from, because it does take all of us to help the kid grow to become the best. But they know not to call me with something that they have no business calling me over.
Right.
And a lot of that just comes from, teachers and staff also need training. And if more parents were involved, like I'm involved, they would stop calling for these things. And at best, they would stop punishing kids for these things.
That's fair. I don't think, when's the last time you got a call for any of the kids actually in trouble for something?
Never.
The last, they don't have parent-teacher meetings at their school. They have student-led conferences.
Student-led conferences, yes, where the student presents their work.
And the youngest apparently has a lot of admiration for me. So she's telling me, this is a couple weeks ago, you need to start being a little bit more constructive with him and doing more positive things with him and reinforcing things more frequently with him. And I was like, I felt like the school was saying something negative about it, as if they were like, why does he admire this guy? Like, why does he talk about him all the time? And then she's like, no, it's good. It's okay. But my immediate thought was, okay, this is a kid that's in public school. This kid knows everything. He's turning 9 in 2 weeks. He knows everything about World War II. There's nothing you can ask him that he would not know a fact about.
Very cool.
And now he's moving into space and the same kind of thing. He knows all these weird, obscure facts and knowledge. He learns a lot of it from YouTube. He learns a lot of it from school. He has one really good friend that the two of them are always following the same topic pretty heavily and religiously. Going back to the World War II thing, they know locations, they know people, they know equipment that was used, they know how many lives were lost, they know, the horsepower of the plane that was flying that dropped the bomb. Like, they know all of this stuff. And that is what kind of made me think, okay, these teachers must be thinking that the veteran is only telling him about and this is, and it's nothing I ever taught him.
Would you like to come to the next student-led conference, Andrew?
Sure.
Okay, we just solved the problem.
Okay.
There we go. I'm here to help.
Yeah. Well, where can everybody find you? The nonprofit, we'll have the link from you, I'm sure, by the time that goes live. That way we can post that up for you as well. But is there anywhere else that you want people to check you out, find you?
I'm exclusively on Twitter. I am not allowed to be on Instagram and Facebook, so I'm exclusively on Twitter.
Are you not allowed there because they don't allow you, or is that part of the stipulation?
They deleted all of my accounts.
Gotcha.
I made new accounts, and then those accounts are made public. And it was getting to the point where it was nothing but people finding me and threatening me. And I decided, well, I'm just not going to give them any more of my money, any more of my time. So I deleted the secondary accounts, and now I'm exclusively on Twitter.
Well, I'll put that link down in the description and the comments and stuff as well. And we'd love to have you back on again. Now that we've kind of broken the ice and done an introduction with you, I feel like I kind of want a tour of your workshop. I want to see I want to see some of these lecterns and podiums and things.
Okay, fantastic. I'll make it work.
Cool.
Thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you guys.
I'll have you stay on here for just one quick second, but thanks everybody for watching. Thanks Adam for coming on, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Goodbye.
Bye.